This is the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
They were sent to D.C. to fight the battle there for us. So it's time. It's time that we send them reinforcements.
There is no endorsement today with more impact than an endorsement from Sarah Palin. Now that the Mama Grizzly has started to back candidates, it's created quite a buzz. Today, we're joined by Palin-endorsed T.W. Shannon to talk about his quest for a U.S. Senate seat out of Oklahoma. We're excited to learn more about this common-sense family man from the Sooner State. A brand new Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimpson is on the way, and just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. First, we head to Oklahoma. A very exciting candidate running for U.S. Senate has picked up the endorsement of Governor Sarah Palin. He's a committed family man, a defender of the Constitution, and a lover of liberty and freedom. T.W. Shannon, welcome to the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio.
Hi, Kevin. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. And first off, congratulations on the big endorsement from Governor Palin. What did it mean to you to get her support in your race for Senate?
Well, first of all, me and my family and the entire campaign team, we're just overwhelmed and thrilled that Governor Palin would extend her credibility onto us. You know, there's nobody more exciting in the conservative movement than Governor Palin. And, you know, when we asked for her support, she didn't hesitate. I met her last year at CPAC. We had a chance. I was speaking there, and she was too. And we had a chance to visit in the green room a little and hit it off really well and found out, as I thought, that we share a lot of the same conservative values. And so it's obviously an honor for me. It gives my campaign a huge boost. And we're excited about the prospects of winning in January and then on forward to the general in November.
Well, it's very exciting for many people in and out of Oklahoma for sure. Now, in endorsing you, Palin said Tom Coburn leaves large conservative shoes to fill, but at 6'5", you can handle it. So a little bit of that Palin humor infused, but she means it.
Well, Mama Grizzly usually says what she means, and that's what that's why her endorsement means so much to me. Even obviously politically, it's helpful, but personally, it means a lot. I mean, there's nobody who's been more vilified as smart conservative women often are by the liberal media, like she has. I think it's been a sad day, the sexism that she faces every day. But again, what's inspiring about her is that she rises to the occasion even above that. She's herself. She connects with people. And I'm excited that she's interested in our race because, again, our message, which she helps us to get out with her endorsement, is that we need to turn things around in Washington, D.C. The out-of-control spending, the out-of-control debt, the attack on personal liberties. It's going to take leadership for somebody to go to Washington, D.C. and say no to Barack Obama and to the liberal agenda of spending and more government intrusion.
I want to get to some of those issues in a moment specifically. First, though, Governor Palin also said you would bring integrity and a moral compass with you to D.C. That would be a welcome change from what we've been seeing of late.
Well, again, I've said this, many times. I didn't learn my conservative credentials from, with all due respect, from listening to Fox News. I'm a big fan of it, watch it all the time. But that's not where I learned my conservative credentials. I learned them in the pews of Bethlehem Baptist Church in Lawton, Oklahoma, the church where my grandparents and my parents and now me and my kids attend. That's where I learned my conservative principles. And being conservative is not that complicated. It's like my mentor, J.C. Watts, always said. It just means doing what your grandmother taught you to do. And really, it starts with integrity and character. And character means doing what's right when nobody's watching.
Now, some background on you, sir. You were the youngest speaker ever in the Oklahoma House. That's a real leadership role. Do you think a big responsibility like that has prepared you well for the jump to the U.S. Senate?
Oh, I think there's no question. I think what people, are looking for is somebody who will stand up to the establishment. And I proved that as speaker when I said no to more government debt in Oklahoma. The newspapers went wild. They went radical. In fact, they're still writing editorials about me because I was unwilling to bend on adding more debt to Oklahomans. And I think that's the same type of courage it's going to take in Washington, D.C., so that we can stop the deficit spending, stop the out-of-control spending, and finally balance our budget. Because, again, this next election, it's not really about, who's going to win or who's going to be in power. We're talking about the future of our country. And that's why I'm excited that, people from around the state are hearing our message and are joining on board and supporting our efforts.
As far as the issues, you have an understanding that has been lost on so many in Washington. America is a gift from God, and it's God that gives us our rights. And to that end, we're pretty confident you will defend our Constitution.
Oh, absolutely. I fundamentally believe, like our founders, that the Constitution doesn't give rights. And that sometimes gets lost with the liberal media. The Constitution guarantees rights. Our founding fathers changed the world upside down when they had this radical notion that we have unalienable rights, and the federal government and this administration and this Congress, they've forgotten that. Again, we see more and more federal intrusion, whether it's into the areas of education. We've seen the crisis that's been created by more government in our healthcare system, and government wants to control every aspect of our lives. And if government agents were angels, that'd be a completely different story. But they're not. We have a Constitution that's there to protect our rights, and we need people that will go to Washington, D.C. and defend it. And I think I'm that guy. And that's why I'm excited to be following, hopefully, in the footsteps of Dr. Coburn in November.
You're a strong supporter of our Second Amendment rights. Oklahoma's a state that cherishes those rights, as does Governor Palin. Why are gun rights so important?
Well, because, the Second Amendment, our rights to bear arms, that protects and guarantees every other right that we have. And I have an A rating from most of all the gun groups, particularly the NRA, and I'm proud of it. I fundamentally believe that the right to bear arms is the check and balance that is needed in a civilized society. And so anybody who wants to come after our guns, when I get to Washington, D.C., I'll be the most ardent supporter of protecting the Second Amendment rights. It's non-negotiable, and we don't need more gun rights. We need people to be left alone. When I ran for office back in 2006, what I heard the most from my constituents was fix the roads, fix the schools, and leave us alone. And I certainly believe that schools are a local control issue, but I think that same philosophy can be taken to Washington, D.C. We need to focus on the core government functions and the enumerated powers that are listed in the Constitution and not get outside of that.
You have 2 young kids. I do as well. They're in trouble already, thanks to our quote-unquote leaders who are spending like never before and adding to the enormous debt. What in the world do we do about that situation?
Well, first of all, we've got to stop increasing the debt limit. Every single time that this issue comes up, we see politicians crater because of the fear of some imagined unforeseeable consequence that would be immediate. I'm looking long-term, and what I see long-term is a trajectory that is unsustainable. We're never going to get out of debt if we continue adding more debt. We need people that are going to get the debt under control and also say no to the out-of-control spending. And again, it takes courage. What you're always fighting against in government is the culture. There is a seductive culture that encourages people to forget their values, to forget the reason that they were sent there, forget the people that sent them there. The thing you've got to remember as an elected official is most of your day is spent talking to tax consumers, people that live off the government. Those are the people that walk the halls. Those are the people that send you emails. Those are the people that make calls and appointments in your office. You can never forget about the taxpayer. When 1 out of every $3 that we earn as American citizens is spent on some government tax or fee, that's enough.
So many issues to tackle in a Senate race, of course. No matter the issue, though, doesn't it always come down to liberty and personal responsibility?
Absolutely. The only way to have and I think most people, certainly your listening audience, would agree we need less government. The way that you get less government is by people enacting more personal responsibility. When people are being responsible, then we don't need as much government. That's why I led the effort as the Speaker of the House to reform our welfare laws here in the state of Oklahoma, requiring that anyone receiving welfare benefits, particularly food stamps, that they had to do at least 20 hours a week. We passed laws to require drug testing on welfare recipients. I fundamentally believe that we should be encouraging a strong work ethic. It's the only way that we're going to get out of this mess, and encouraging strong families.
What are you hearing from people in Oklahoma when you're out there campaigning? What do they want from our elected officials?
Well, they want somebody that's going to go to Washington, D.C. and say no to more spending and no to more debt. It's that simple. Dr. Coburn set a terrific model, I think, for anybody who wants to go serve in a public office about integrity, and also about being focused on spending and reducing the spending and reducing government waste, fraud, and abuse. And when I hear the state, what I'm hear more and more are people like you and me who are concerned about the future for their kids and grandkids, and politicians who just keep increasing the debt load. It's always tempting in government. I mean, the temptation was there when I was Speaker to pull out the government credit card and take care of the immediate needs and let somebody pay for it later. We need elected officials that are going to say no to that. I believe I'm that guy, and we've talked about it a lot. You can go to twshannon.com. We've got clippings on kind of what I believe and where my faith comes from, and what I plan to do when I get to Washington, D.C. to learn more.
Well, it sounds great, sir, and that was the next question. How can people help your campaign? That's twshannon.com?
Absolutely. twshannon.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're connecting with voters any way we can. And the thing that's most exciting about our campaign are the young people that are involved, because I think young people recognize they're the ones that are going to have to pay for this. You know, at the end of the day, the people from the millennial generation, my generation and below, we're going to be stuck with the tab for what's happened in Washington, D.C., and we need leaders that are going to go there and say no to spending and say no to the debt.
You have the same dynamic as me, the girl and boy, older girl, younger boy. Is your son a Batman nut like mine?
Oh, he is. He absolutely loves Batman. He's kind of gotten into the Power Rangers now,
okay.
But Batman is the first love, that's for sure.
I saw you had the T-shirt on their website, and my son, I think we're going on about 45 of the last 60 days in the full costume. So, you know, we've kind of forgot what his face looks like, but
I understand.
And I also see you had a Chuck E. Cheese birthday recently. We did that, too, for number 5, but it was my daughter's, but her 5th, too, so that was a big hit.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. The best part about Chuck E. Cheese is you don't have to clean up afterwards. And again, you know, you bring up the kids, and that's why I do this in public service, is because I'm concerned that they will not inherit the same America that we inherit. Unless we change directions in Washington, D.C., and get our spending and debt under control, they're going to inherit a standard of living that's less than me or even their grandparents. And that's a travesty. They deserve better, and that's why I'm willing to go to Washington, D.C. and fight.
Well, you nailed it, sir. I said it just the other day on a show in Alaska. They asked me, you know, why do you support Governor Palin so much? And, you know, one of the first things I always bring up are my kids. So we need leaders like her. We need leaders like you. T.W. Shannon, we're behind you 100%. All the best to you and your family. God bless you, and let's stay in touch throughout your run.
Kevin, we will do it. Thank you so much for having me. And, again, the listeners can go to twshannon.com for more information. Thank you.
A great American, T.W. Shannon. Learn more at twshannon.com. That's twshannon.com. Sarah Palin summed up things very well on Facebook about Shannon, saying Tom Coburn leaves large conservative shoes to fill as he retires from the U.S. Senate. At 6'5" tall, T.W. Shannon is just the leader to fill them. T.W. is the underdog in this race, but that's not a position he's unfamiliar with. He's had to beat the odds all of his life. He became the first Republican to ever win his district seat in the Oklahoma State Legislature, even though the naysayers said it couldn't be done. When he sought to be Speaker of the House, the naysayers said he was too young and too conservative to win, but his colleagues chose him anyway, and he became the youngest Speaker in Oklahoma history. To read all of the governor's comments on Shannon and to see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page and follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA.
It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson and Kevin Scholla.
Hey, Susan, welcome back.
Kevin, nice to be here.
So what's happening? Barack Obama, I guess, up to his old tricks that continue to just move forward here in Washington, unfortunately. What's the latest?
Well, just the changes overall every single day. We never know what law the president is going to change just by decree from his throne. I wish that he would show the same type of aggression toward people who are not our friends, such as Vladimir Putin, but instead he's only aggressive here in his own country with his own constitution, and not so much for those who are doing grabs of power in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution's supposed to kind of mean something, not be a suggestion, right?
Right, and we're supposed to set the example and have set the example for a couple of 100 years, or maybe in Sheila Jackson's terms, 400 years, as she thought that the Constitution has been in effect for 400 years. But certainly America has set the standard for what a free society can do and how successful it can be. And I just watch the actions of President Obama here in our country, and I see him just really, now it's not even a slow evaporation, it's just a quick grab of power from the presidency, and not so much when it comes to other foreign leaders such as Vladimir Putin, who is basically taking over another country, and President Obama goes on vacation.
You know, you notice some of the candidates that Sarah Palin has already endorsed here in the 2014 cycle, and they may differ in certain ways, come from different backgrounds, but, you know, that protection of the Constitution, that seems to be pretty uniform and something she cares so much about, and I don't think you get an endorsement from her if you don't pass that litmus test.
I think you're right, and I think certainly over the last few years you've seen a shaping of Sarah Palin as a national figure, and you still see the same consistency, though, in the message and the truth and the principles that she has, you know, espoused since 2008. She has become quite laser-focused, though, and I think funny in the way that she can poke a little fun and poke a little humor at some of her opponents.
Well, I mean, when you and I were sitting there at CPAC a couple of weeks ago, you know, what did she say when she was up there, right? He's the lamest of lame ducks at president. And, you know, if we get some of these people elected that will follow the Constitution and stop some of this behavior, at least that will handcuff him until he's finally out of there.
Yes, I just wish that he would have the same type of aggressive approach here, you know, with our enemies that we can see who are doing power grabs across the world, and not quite be so aggressive against the Constitution in our own country.
All right, Susan, well said. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Kevin.
Susan Stimson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. If you didn't catch Kimberly Strassel's column in the Wall Street Journal last week, please be sure and find it. She nailed it. It's the true story behind, quote, big money in politics, close quote. While Harry Reid slanders the Koch brothers on the floor of the Senate, the biggest money in Democratic politics, bigger than the Koch brothers, are the unions. Unions contributed $4.4 billion in contributions from 2005 to 2011. Yes, that's billion with a B. And the thing about unions is they take their $4.4 billion in contributions from their members. The big boys of the unions, the bosses, if you will, don't take care of their membership. They support policies that not only hurt union members, but also don't even represent what many members support. Obamacare is a perfect example. Plus, some union members are very conservative, pro-life, pro-gun, low taxes, smaller government, but union bosses in the Democratic Party have hijacked their views and their money. Harry Reid should quit casting stones at the Koch brothers, as Strassel suggests, and take the mote out of his own eye. This is Sarah Steelman for SaraNet Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Commonwealth Common Sense and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download. So just head to SaraNetRadio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. Visit SaraNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow along on Twitter at SaraNet Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Susan B. Stimson, and at Sarah_Steelman. Palin Patriots is our feature on SaraNet.net. Check out the writings from our great panel of contributors, including Bader Carmoot, Martha Zoller, and Dan Bongino. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Just go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Susan Stimson, and everyone here at SaraNet Radio. Thanks to T.W. Shannon, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.